Okay. Hey, welcome back to my channel, Happy Little Knits. If you are new here, my name is Chanel Shea, and today we are doing another knitting podcast. We have a lot to catch up on. I have not filmed in a while because last month or the last few weeks have been crazy. We have a lot to go over. I have a little list here of all the things that we have to talk about today. It has been a very busy month, so I haven't been able to sit down and film, but I figured I would do a 6-month check-in for 2023, everything I have made this year and that I'm working on. And since it's summertime, I'm not knitting as much, so there's other things going on in my life that I thought we'd talk about too. But the first thing I thought we would talk about is kind of like an overall life update. So my birthday actually was just last month in June on Father's Day weekend, and we had a lot of fun. That's part of the reason why I haven't really been on here that much, because it's been very busy. It was my birthday and my husband's very first Father's Day. I don't remember exactly the last time I filmed, but it's been a few weeks at least. But for my birthday, it was so much fun. My husband surprised me. My husband and I, we go camping in the same place every year for my birthday. It's a campground that I grew up going to as a kid for my family reunions. So the first year we went, it was just the two of us. It was my 21st birthday. And then the second year we went, I was pregnant. And then this year we went, we had Sophie with us for the first time. It was her first time camping. Not her first beach trip, because she has gone to the beach a few times this year, but it was her first time camping. She did so good, okay? Like, I was shocked. She did so good. Friday, my husband surprised me. He took the day off, and he had booked us a tour to an alpaca farm, and we got to pet the alpacas and feed them and hang out with them. It was so much fun. Usually when you go on tour an alpaca farm, or if you get to see alpacas, it's through a fence, but this was different. It was like in their backyard. They had a lot of land and they had a whole farm, and they had let the alpacas go in their backyard so we could sit there and hang out with them and feed them. And there were little babies and they were so cute. So that was a lot of fun. And then they had a little shop, and they had amazing yarn, like all kinds of different yarn, all of them which had alpaca fur in them. And then they had some crocheted and knitted pieces and wool that you could buy. They also had wool for free that you could use for stuffing. And I am on a yarn ban, but since it was my birthday, I gave in just a little bit, because I realized that weekend I don't have any sock yarn except for that red cake that I've had for almost a year now. And I really have been looking for some kind of something to pair with that yarn to make a pair of socks. It just so happened they had red mohair there, so I purchased two little what are they, balls, I guess, cakes. And yeah, I don't have the tag with me because I bought 2 of them and I don't know where the other one is, so I just have the one that I've been working on, and it doesn't have the tag on it. But yeah, I got that, and then we went from there to the campground and we set up camp, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Sophie had a blast. She was so good. I realized though that we need a bigger tent because the last 2 years, the first year we went, we only had like a twin-sized air mattress, and that's what we shared together the first year, because we could both just like squeeze on that. And our tent is like one of those little tiny 2-people tent, and so we slept on that. The second year I was so pregnant that we had to sleep in the car, and that sucked. If you are pregnant, I don't recommend sleeping in the car because it is so bad. But this last year, we had to get a new air mattress because, first of all, the three of us wouldn't have fit on that little one in the first place. But second of all, I had a hole in it. So we got a queen size air mattress, and it was one of the really, really thick ones. So that was a whole fiasco. My husband inflated it and then went to go put it in the tent, but it wouldn't fit in the tent because the tent was so small. So we had to deflate it a little bit, put it in the tent, and then go to the store and get a different kind of air pump that could plug into the cart, and then re-inflate it. And so, yeah, that was a whole debacle. But it was such a tight squeeze that the tent was like bowing out a little bit from the air mattress. So that was pretty interesting. We went and walked around some of the little shops downtown, and it just so happened that they were having I think it was called, it was like some kind of event, not like a yarn crawl, but it was like an art crawl, I believe. So they had at all of their little antique shops and stuff, and their art shops, and a yarn shop I did find, they were having an artist at each one displaying their own art, and you could purchase it or just talk to the artist and stuff. So that was really nice. We got to see all kinds of cool things, homemade or handmade soaps and jewelry and clothing. And we did stumble upon a yarn shop, and I got to speak with an artist, and she made so many beautiful pieces. I didn't get any footage of that yarn shop though because I was so invested in the conversation. We were there for quite a while. But after that, it also happened to be their farmers market, so we got to walk around the farmers market and check out some stuff there. And then all within just like that little area, there was their museum. So we went to their museum and walked around there and got to see a bunch of cool stuff. And then we just hung out at camp the rest of the day. We got some lunch, and it was just a really good day. And yeah, and then Sunday we came home. Sunday was Father's Day, and we got ready and cleaned up the house and everything, and we had gone to my mom's house, and waiting right there on the table was a stand mixer. I had been asking my husband for a stand mixer for quite some time, and he surprised me with one in my favorite color, and he had left it at my parents' house and didn't tell me about it, so it was quite a surprise. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, so I guess that would be a good segue into, I guess, one of my new hobbies I picked up, which is, ever since I got the stand mixer, I have baked so much bread. I have right here one of the loaves that I just made the other day. I've been making French bread, and the recipe that I follow makes two decent sized loaves. I've been putting them in bread pans so they turn out like this and not the long logs, because I prefer to have it sandwich shaped for sandwiches and French toast. I have become pretty comfortable with the recipe now, so I've been trying new things. The first time I made it, I just used all-purpose flour, and it turned out amazing. The second time I used the recipe, I used mostly all-purpose with just a little bit of whole wheat flour, because I ran out of all-purpose in the middle of making the dough. And then this last time, I did 3 cups of all-purpose and then 3 cups of whole wheat, so that's why it's a little more tan. And I think I prefer this more. It tastes a lot better. But so the first time I made it into the logs. And then the second time I made it, I put it in the loaf pans, and they domed, like a perfect dome. But then this last time I made it, I made a little slit down the middle so it would make the bread shape. And I think it turned out so perfect. Normally the bread is really soft, but I let this sit out overnight so it's a little stiffer. But yeah, so what I've been doing is making 2 loaves at the start of every week, and then I put one of the loaves in the freezer, and then we just eat up this one, and then by the time this one is done, I'll take out a loaf out of the freezer and we'll eat that, and then when we run out, I'll make more. And so yeah, the last month, I want to say, almost a month, we've been having homemade bread. and it has been so amazing. Another thing that I've really been into, so since it's been warm outside, we were in summertime, gardening quite a bit. My garden is flourishing. I am having so much fun working on it because I've never gardened before. I can barely keep houseplants alive. So seeing how well it's doing is just the coolest thing ever. I am growing butternut squash, bell pepper, yellow zucchini, tomatoes, and potatoes. My onion and garlic didn't make it this year. My broccoli also did not make it this year. And then I have a few flowers that I am growing. I'm growing a dahlia, and I call her Dolly the Dahlia. I'm having so much fun growing that. She hasn't sprouted any buds yet, so it's just because I started her from a seed, so still a work in progress. But yeah, my zucchini and my butternut squash are huge. Same with my tomato plant. I have so many tomatoes, and I already have a tomato that's like this big, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time outside in the garden and getting to know my plants and everything, and I have a better plan for next year. This year I just kind of grabbed stuff from the store, planted it into the ground that I have a little built-in garden bed. It's really small, so we've been using that. But I'm learning now, like, not that I know what I'm doing, but I'm figuring things out as we go. So I think next year we're gonna do some garden beds, raised garden beds, and plant our veggies in there, and then I'm just gonna fill this garden bed with flowers. So there's that. And then let's see what else. This isn't really like a commonly talked about thing, but I think it should be. I think it's really important that we talk about this. But I started therapy. Hey, don't bite. You be nice. Yeah, I started therapy in the end of May, beginning of June. It's been a few weeks now, and I have seen some major improvements. It's only been about a month-ish, I think, and yeah, I've been seeing a lot of improvements in my life. Another thing I've really been into besides gardening and baking is reading. So with all my hobbies, I haven't had much time to do knitting, but I've been squeezing it in there as much as I can. What I'm currently reading right now, don't judge me. I have not yet read the Twilight Saga, okay? So I am finally reading them. I was 8 years old when the first movie came out, so I remember attempting to read Twilight when I was like 10, and that did not work. So I am now starting to read the Twilight Saga. My husband Kevin got me the complete set of books. I picked up Twilight in December because Sophie was a newborn. She was only 2 months old. And then as Sophie got older, I just didn't really have the time or the energy to read. I was using my free time to knit, and I didn't have much of it, so I didn't have time to read. Now I feel like I kind of am not losing my mojo, but I think just because it's warmer, I don't really want to sit and knit. So I've been reading a lot more. I picked up from where I left off from Twilight. I started on chapter 6 just because I remember the first few chapters, but I couldn't remember where exactly I left off. So I started from chapter 6, and I finished the whole book in 4 days. So I read Twilight. Now I'm reading New Moon, and I have read a little less than halfway. This is the side that I'm reading. This is what's left. So not quite halfway, but almost there. And this only took me like 2 days. I know. This is the collection. So we have Twilight, and then New Moon, Eclipse, and then this is The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. So this comes after Eclipse. I don't know if you're familiar with the movies or if you've read any of the books, but if you haven't read the book, in the movie Eclipse, you know when like there's like the war starting and like the newborns are being created and everything, and there's like an army being involved. Well, you know, like after the fight scene there's like this girl and she's kind of just like cowering, you know, and then like Carlisle and Esme, they try to like protect her from the Volturi. That's who Bree Tanner is. And it's the story of her and Riley, like their kind of like love story during the building of the army. And then, yeah, that's her life. So that comes after Eclipse. I'm really excited to read that. I have not read it yet. I remember my mom reading it and telling me about it, and I was like, that sounds really good. And then, of course, we have Breaking Dawn, but then we have this, which is Life and Death. And this is the, if I remember correctly, oh yeah, so this is supposed to be kind of like a alternate universe, I think, where Bella is Bo, who's the man in this situation, and Edward is Edith, who is the woman, so it's like an alternate universe. I haven't heard much about that. I just read the description, thought that was really interesting. And then we have Midnight Sun, which is supposed to be Edward's POV. This is the complete kit. So that's what I'm currently reading. Lots and lots of reading going on right now during the summer season, which I love. I always love to read during the summer. Well, I love to read in the winter and the fall also. That's like my favorite time to read. But I like reading in the summer because it's harder to sit down and knit when it's hot. So I like reading. Plus reading is a lot more portable, so when I'm out and about in the summertime, it's easier to just pull out a book and read. So on top of all of that, I have also been doing a lot of spring cleaning, if you will, although it's not spring anymore. We've been trying to downsize our house tremendously because we have a lot of stuff that we don't need. So we've been going on this minimalistic journey. So we've been tackling things one at a time. I've been working on this hutch. I've been working on the kitchen a lot. As you saw, I cleaned out the entire craft room, but I still have a lot of work to do on downsizing that room. I'm going to add a new section of my channel that is not going to be knitting related. It's going to be our journey to become minimalist. So it's going to be a lot of me and my husband cleaning and doing projects around the house to downsize as much as possible and just learn how to become more minimalist. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend subscribing so you can stick around for my knitting content, but also my minimalist content as well, I guess. There will also probably be some videos of me doing some cooking on there too, because I'm also going to try and start learning how to be, I already cook a lot of our meals as is, but I'm learning how to do food preservation and food storage. Bulk cooking is what I meant to say. Yeah, I would love for you to stick around and go on this journey with us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We are doing hair up for the rest of this video because it is getting very warm. I don't know if you can hear the AC in the back, but yeah, wow, it is hot. Now we can dive into the knitting. The segment where I talk about everything I have made this year so far. I don't have all of my FOs with me just because I've talked about them in all of my other podcasts, so I don't want to like bring them out, re-show you, and go over all of that. I'd like to break it down month by month. So in January, I started out small and I finished that beanie that I made. It was like my own take on the Musselburgh hat. I didn't knit the Musselburgh. I just saw, okay, this is what you do, and I did it. So it's not perfect at all. It's not the best looking, but it is very, very, very warm, and we did wear it this winter, especially when we went to the beach in February. And yeah, that's what I made for January. February, I crocheted a blanket for my daughter. I have this little pamphlet or like booklet, and it has a bunch of Afghan throw crochet patterns, and so I just took one out of there and I crocheted that up, and she likes it a lot. She takes her naps with it. And then let's see, March was the corn cardigan. That is the all over lace pattern cardigan by Rebecca from the Crayabea. I test knit that one. That was my first ever test knit. It started in the end of February and then we finished it in March, I think is how it went. My booklet that I have with all this information is upstairs and I forgot to grab it. But I'll put all of this in the description, of course. I finished it pretty quick, but around the time that we were finishing it, I got accepted by Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl, and I got accepted to test knit her Farnham tee. So as soon as I finished the corn cardigan, we went into April and I knit the Farnham tee, the test knit, and then that was my second test knit. Finished that, and then in May I knit the Tulsa tee by Rebecca from the Caribbean. And then in June I started some things, but I did not finish anything yet. So that will transition us from FOs into whips. Water break. So after I finished the Tulsa tee, I was like, wow, I'm on a roll. I gotta keep this going. It felt so good. I was finishing something every single month. And so I felt like I found this really great yarn. And then I decided, you know what, like, I really want to try a petite knit pattern. I see them all over the place and I didn't want to like give in to the pressure because it's like everybody's doing the same thing. But I was like, these look so good. I gotta give at least one pattern a try. And I have put a pattern in my basket so many times, like since I started knitting, and then I just never did it. So I finally did, and I purchased the melange sweater. Now I talked about this in a couple different videos, I believe, but let's get into it, okay? Because this is what broke my streak of finishing something every month. Now I was on track to finish this month, but then something happened. So I was following the pattern, but it was very confusing because, so this is her. She might look a little different from the last time I showed you, but I'll just talk about the pattern and explain to you why I made mistakes, okay? Why mistakes were made. So it's a drop shoulder, so you start from the middle of the back and you work your way up and you do German short rows, okay? Now, this time it turned out so much better because I did the German short row and drop shoulder method and everything for my very first time on the Farnham test by Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl. So this time around I knew what I was doing and I was able to understand how to read the pattern a little bit better. So my shoulders, the shoulder seam, looks so much cleaner. I've talked about this before, but I just cannot get over how clean that is. And this is the inside where the seam is. You can see it. And this is the outside. You can see it blends very nicely. Okay, I did the back, and then you do the one side connect, and then you work the body, right? And then you do the collar and then the arms. So I connected, and then I started, I knit a few rounds, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break from this, and I'm gonna do the collar. When I was done, I noticed that my armholes were like down here. It was like a giant gaping hole for the armholes, like huge, okay? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure something out about that. We'll come back to it. Let's just work on the collar. So I did the collar, and from where I started, it turned out great, okay, at first. But then we were getting some slanting. I was like, okay. And then it was getting really bad. And now it's atrocious, okay? And then we got to this, and there's puckering, and it's just so bad, It's terrible. It is terrible. And I thought that maybe I could just ignore it. That's not the case because we pucker really bad in the front. See, it puckers, and then the collar just right here is like, it's not good. So I have to go back and not redo the whole collar. I just have to unseam it and then re-seam it again. I was really proud of it at first because, like, you can see the decreases here. It looks very nice. You know, it looked really good when I was knitting this. Like the color at first, it looked so good, but then seaming it destroyed it. And then, oh yeah, so I was confused because the pattern said, you know, join here and then knit from where you picked up stitches or something like that until however many centimeters or inches. Now I was confused because it's like picked up stitches here or here. Like, do I measure from here down or here down? And then my other thing is, this is slanted, it's not straight across. So like, if I measure from here, do I measure from this point or from this point? You know, like it doesn't say specifically where to measure from. So I was just super confused. So I had to rip back so much. And then I just wung it. And I was like, yeah, that looks like a decent size for an arm. I don't know. Maybe it's still too big. I don't know. But I don't also want a fitting, like a super fitted sleeve. So I just kind of guessed. And then joined in the round. But the thing is like, now the front is too high. It's higher than the back. So I just got so frustrated with this thing that I just put it down for quite a while. I still haven't touched it because every time I look at it, I just get sick to my stomach. It makes me so angry. So that is what's happening with my melange sweater. So we set that aside. It's been sitting on ice. It's been sitting in my diaper bag / knitting bag. And every time I just look at it, I'm just like, I'm so mad, but I don't want to put it away because I don't want this to just become another whip, you know, because I have so many whips I need to work through. I don't want this to just become another one of those. I don't want to rip it all the way out because I put so much work into it. I don't want to start over with the other skein because, like I said, I put in so much work. So it's just there on ice right now until I have the energy to go back and correct my mistakes. So in the meantime, like I said, I had found some yarn to go with my red yarn. Sorry, I dropped stitches, so I'm picking them up before they're gone forever. I found the red yarn to go with the yarn that I was going to use for a pair of socks. Like I had mentioned before, I had been looking everywhere for yarn to go with this because I really wanted like a very chunky, warm, fuzzy sock, which is so funny because we're in summer. Yeah, I also wanted a sock that's going to be durable because I only have one handmade pair of socks for myself and one of them got a hole in it. So I was like, you know what? I've made socks for a bunch of other people. I only have one pair for myself and they have a hole. So I need to make myself some more socks. And I need to use this dang red yarn because freaking dang, I want to get it out of my stash. I'm sick of looking at it. So this is the red yarn I'm talking about. I don't have the label with me. I lost it so long ago. I've had this yarn for almost a year now. Sorry, the lighting's really bad. Oh gosh, that did not help at all. Okay, there we go. It's coming up a lot brighter. In person, it's more like a crimson red. It's very dark. Not as dark as what it's coming up on the camera, but it is dark and it has like notes of black in it. So where this looks darker, that's actually black. I don't know why my camera is sucking so bad right now, but yeah. Or like, okay, this piece right here, you can see like that's black right there. But yeah, so this is the yarn. We all know about it. We've been talking about it for almost a year. This is the red that I have found to go with it. It is coming up slightly darker on camera than what it is in person, which is crazy because this is coming out lighter and this is coming out darker. Focus, focus, focus. It's so soft and squishy. So I am pairing these two together. The contrast on the camera is really what it's like in person. Like this is a very bright red and this is a very dark red. But them together, it looks great. I haven't been like twisting my yarn or anything. I've just been pulling two strands and knitting with it. Now I'm following the vanilla sock pattern from the Crazy Sock Lady. I don't remember her name. I think her name's Kate. Just a tutorial on YouTube. That's the pattern or the tutorial or whatever I've been using for all my socks. So I know how to do it without watching her video now. I just kind of just whip it up. But the socks that I've always made, I've only made like a long sock for my husband, but even then it wasn't even that long. And then I made one that was like slightly shorter for my very first pair of socks for myself. That's the one that has the hole in it. But I've mostly been doing like midi to like shorty type socks, so I thought I would do a long sock. So this is my sock that I have so far. It's very long, it's very squishy, it's very thick. The camera is not doing it justice right now. I don't know how to adjust this lighting to make it better, but maybe if I just closed it. Okay, yeah, that's a little better. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock and it's very hot in the house. I don't know where else to sit in this house for better lighting besides my craft room, but there's no AC in there, and I don't feel like sitting in a boiling baking hot room, especially with Sophie sleeping on the other side of the wall. This is where we're sitting today, so bear with me. So I started from here with the cuff. I did 2x2 ribbing, and so as you can see, it kind of like goes in a little bit, and then I did a nice long, whatever it's called, leg, I guess, of the sock tube. And then for this part, because I don't have a lot of this mohair, so I dropped the mohair and just went with the red yarn for the heel flap. I did the slip knit, is that what's called? Slip knit heel flap. It looks kind of funny because it like bows in, but this is where I picked up the stitches. Looks very crisp, those lines. And then I'm using my handy dandy go-to ChowGoo 9-inch. I need to get more of these needles because I only have this 2.5. I think I have one other one and I don't remember if it was 2.5 or 2.75. But I want to get a lot more of these needles for different size yarn, because this yarn, this one is like super thin. I think it's lace weight. So they're making out for a very good, sturdy, thick, very warm, fuzzy fabric. Now, this is not my first time working with mohair. I have no problems working with it. It's fine on my skin. I have not worn mohair before, but I found, like with my hands do just fine with it. But I was sitting on the couch the other day and I was wearing shorts, and I had the yarn sitting over here and a strand of the mohair was like dragging across my leg. Now on my thigh, I have a very large tattoo on my thigh. So I noticed that it started to itch so bad, and then when I stopped having the yarn like drag on that part of my thigh, it stopped itching. So I don't know if it's just like that, like if it's just my legs that I can't have mohair, or if it's just because I have a tattoo right there or what, but on the rest of my skin, like it feels perfectly fine. It was just that spot, I was like, could not stop itching. Like the entire tattoo, it's a very large tattoo, the entire tattoo started itching. When I moved the yarn, it stopped itching and it felt fine. So for this sock, I'm doing the medium size, so there are 64 stitches, and then I did, I believe, 15 rounds for the cuff. Normally I would do a longer cuff, but I just wanted to hurry up and get to this part. That's why this is so short. So I did about 15 rows for the cuff, and then I did 39 rows for this portion, and then on the 40th row is when I started the heel flap. Yeah, the heel flap, because then, you know, you knit one side and then the other, so that would be round 40. And then I did I'm pretty sure it's called the slip knit method, because you slip a stitch and then you knit a stitch. So I did that for the heel flap, and then I did my decreases, and then I picked up for the gusset, and I just put the mohair back with it, and so I had held two strands again, so that's why like the foot portion is the same as the top part, and you can see the heel part is different. It's like that darker red. I also wanted it because of the contrast. I thought it would look pretty cool too, which it does. So I did that for the heel, and then I'm gonna do it for the toes as well, because I'm assuming that by the time I get to the toes, I'm gonna run out of this mohair. So I figured the toes and the heel, or the toe portion and the heel portion, could both just be this red yarn because of the contrast. It would look good, but also that way I can get a full sock and not be like freaking out over the fact that I don't have enough yarn or enough mohair for the entire thing. I'm gonna use the other cake of mohair and do the same thing for the next sock, obviously, because you want them to be matching pair. So this is what I've been working on a lot lately, because I got so frustrated with my melange sweater that I've just been working on socks, because I've been craving socks a lot lately. I haven't knit a pair of socks since Christmas time. I knit a pair for my mother-in-law, and so I was like craving socks a lot. I was craving that simple, don't think about it, quick knit. So I believe that that is everything I have for you today. Thanks for sticking with me on this very chaotic video. We got the AC going. I had to cut a bajillion times. So thanks for sticking with me and doing this 6-month check-in. I hope to see you again in my next video. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you watched to the end, and if you did, thank you so much. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!